Hey guys, you creative people, welcome to the space in Port Jefferson. Thanks for joining me. My uptown friends from the Hive Creative Studios. This is great. Olivia and Ryan,
Thanks
welcome.
for having us.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So Ryan, tell us about the Hive Creative Studios. What was the actual impetus for starting this really creative space that you've started?
So Nick, my business partner who's not here today, he had a room at a place in Ronkonkoma. I won't say the name of the place, but it had a bunch of different rooms, maybe about 10 rooms that all different bands were in. But the facility was not really welcoming or that enjoyable to be in. And we kind of just imagined, like, man, what if this place was like actually truly inspiring, you know, and was like a clean and nice place to be.
So you guys had been in business together at that point?
This was not our space. This was a space that he rented.
Gotcha.
And there was really no other option on Long Island that we saw. So we started just kind of playing around with the idea and started building the concept of the business. We created an LLC and just started building things. And then actually through our friend Dave Coltai, he said, I might know a space that might work for you. And so we went and saw this space, and we found it was going to work for us. So it had been abandoned for 10 years, so we totally built it out and curated it to be, you know, what it is today. We started with 9 private studios that within the first, before we even opened, I guess we had 6 deposits down on the rooms for bands, producers, painters, photographers.
Amazing.
So we opened up in June of 2022, and then as of December, we opened up our second wing with another 5 rooms, so we have a total of 14 rooms. And then we just started renovating the downstairs space in the building we're in, which will be the community center. So there we're going to be holding our events, our workshops. We've had Nick and Olivia just did something called the Artist Way series, which she could tell you about. We've also had painting workshops. Nick does recovery meetings there, things like that.
That's wonderful, and I love the location. When you think about Long Island, this, you know, east-west is what you think about on Long Island, and in fact, this is basically on the tracks. It's literally on the tracks. Port Jefferson Station at the Long Island Railroad. That grain building, as we know it, that started in 1907, as I just learned. It's so great that you guys took the initiative and saw the vision, because you usually see spaces like this in New York City, and rarely see them here in Suffolk County. So I'm very excited about that. Olivia, I understand you might be someone who's responsible for some programming there and some other things. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I came on board about a year ago with the Hive. I was offering some free brand consulting sessions, and I guess it was you, Ryan, who had booked it with me.
Yeah.
And it was funny too, because I had seen the Hive on Instagram, and I had some some people in, like, what would you call it? Some followers that, like, people I was friends with, but I didn't know who the owners were. And so I was like, you know what, guys, like, I'm close by. Let me just come down to the studio and check it out. And then I was happy to find out that it was Ryan, who I had actually met before through his wife, Kiara. And Nick, I had never met before, and so I met him for the first time. And we had our consulting session together. And, yeah, they were like, this is great.
So you were consulting on brands to the Hive?
Yep.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
for their brand.
We kind of needed some
some
assistance in the marketing department.
Sure.
You know, it was, you know, building the business and everything we were all really all in. And then when it came to social media management and marketing, Nick and I were just really not feeling it. So we really needed to bring someone in.
Wow, that's almost meant to be, you know? They say that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so you do this still at the Hive? Do you still do brand consulting, and or are you busy curating other programs?
So I do a little bit of both, actually. So after that meeting, they were like, how do we work with you? So we kind of worked out a little barter where I could get a room there and help them with their social media and figure out ways to market the Hive and just get more eyes on the space, because as soon as I walked in there, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. It's very different than retail, right? So when you think about retail spaces, because I've actually been in the position where I want to take my idea and creativity and put it in the retail space. First of all, it's unaffordable, right? Retail space on Long Island is off the charts, $35 a square foot, as you know. So I would think that you're much more reasonable than that, number one. Number two, you have built-in collaboration with other creative people. As it says on your website, you're really servicing artists, literal painting artists or musical artists, or maybe name some other artists, mediums that you have an affiliation with.
Yeah, so producers, bands, but we also even have small business owners in there.
Right.
So there's one person who's a COO of a company, and then another person who owns a beautician services company out of the city. So it really, we've had tattoo artists and estheticians contact us looking for space.
Therapists.
Yeah, therapists. So it really, and we love that. We don't want to limit it to anybody. Anybody who just wants to be within the community like that, it would be great for them.
The collaboration, I think, is key, because many times we say, we have these big homes and we're like, we'll take this garage and we'll convert it, but it's still working from home. And it's not all cracked, it's not all what it's cracked up to be working from home. You still, if you have any kind of responsibilities at home, you get pulled away to do the lawn or to do something else.
Right.
And I just want to say that I've also experienced that. So you go to a place like yours, and not only are you doing your thing, but also you're meeting other collaborative people, as evident as the way you guys met. It's perfect.
Yeah. And I find that, like, if I'm going to study, to go to the library, or, like you go to the gym, you leave your house, you're leaving with an intention. You're going to a place with the intention to do that thing for X amount of time. Yeah, at home, you can easily get pulled away, or like, oh, well, I should do this, or,
Yeah, easily.
I have 2 kids, and there's a lot of other influences at home now.
So kudos to Dave Coltai, who we both know, musician and audio specialist, among other things. Dave is a great guy. That worked out well. You and I know each other through music and through some mutual friends we talked about before we got on the air here. What's the future of the Hive Creative? I know we have an initiative here, and I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah. So, we just, everything is in our expansion, so we're just trying to get everybody to know who we are, because since we're not a retail or a shop or anything, it's kind of like a members only establishment. So a lot of people see the sign, but they still don't know what we are or what we do.
Hey, guess what? They thought that about Amazon too.
At one point.
I love the name because it indicates collaborative working. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's good. You want a brand like that.
Yeah, it works. But yeah, now is really in the renovation of our community center, so that we can have a lot more events and just kind of be able to bring the community in and have more of an open door with things like that. So we do have a GoFundMe right now, which we're asking anybody for donations to help us renovate the space and make it appropriate to just really serve the community.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
Can you say a few words about that as well?
Yeah. So one of the things I did help the Hive do is bring more people into the space via events in our main area where we have the private rooms. So, every time somebody walks into the space, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but they need to experience it and be in the energy. So with this new community center, the idea is to bring even more people into the space, because
How large will the community center be? And we'll show some pictures in the background. Is it an open space now, bare, and what's the goal?
So right now it's kind of broken into 2 rooms. One of them has some partitions. The other one's open and has its own bathroom. But it's 800 square feet. So we're gonna totally just, it's old and it needs some TLC. So we're gonna knock down the wall that's there, open it up into one big space, redo the floor, paint the walls, make it nice and fresh, do some cool thing with the ceiling. Just make it inspiring like the rest of the space.
Make it feel good.
And just have some performances and workshops and demos, clinics, things like that.
Good. Well, the space wants to help you meet your goals. So in the background, I'm going to show the GoFundMe page. I'm also going to ask, what really cool bonuses might a big donor get? You have anything like that going?
Well, yeah, if they're a big donor, they could definitely contact me and talk to me about it.
Yeah.
But also the space is for the community. So if there's somebody who wants to use the space to run an event, or if they imagine some idea, for use of it, they can certainly do that.
So, Olivia, I understand you're from Rocky Point, out east, only a few towns away from where we are now. What started your creative path? What brings you to creative ways? What really gets you excited about being creative?
Yeah, well, I've always been a creative person since I was little. I was really more into performing arts and theater and singing when I was younger. And at 16, I picked up my first camera, and I fell in love. And that was the medium that really has been throughout my entire life since then. And I keep going back to it.
So let's talk about that. Did you pick up a DSLR camera with film, or because you're definitely of the iPhone generation? So what camera did you pick up? I'm interested.
It was a 35 millimeter film camera. It was a Canon Rebel G is what the name of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went through with, using ISO and understanding why things are what they are in photography, which is oftentimes missed with iPhones that do absolutely everything for us.
Oh, yeah.
And they are quite remarkable, as you can see.
Yeah.
So very cool. Photography, singing, you bring all these creative juices to what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool because I really started to explore photography through film. I take a lot of self-portraits, and that really helps me to learn the medium, but also be more comfortable in photographing other people because I know what it's like to be on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah. And I studied it in college and switched over to digital at some point.
Sure.
And then I studied graphic design. So now it all sort of melds together. And I'm really grateful that I get to use all of these skills and gifts with the Hive.
Have you done anything, I have to ask because it's such a big initiative now and big word, AI. Have you used AI in photography yet and or video producing?
I've
You
used
will be.
Yes. Yep. I've used a little bit of AI. I think it's really helpful with the editing process for
Right.
sure. It makes things a lot quicker, especially when it comes to things like skin retouching or if you need to replace something in a photograph. It's just way, way quicker. So,
Have you heard of this software called Sora?
no, I haven't.
It's not out yet,
Okay.
but you got to look it up. It puts people. I used to be a full-time videographer, so it would immediately put me out of business in some respects.
Yeah.
That you just you type in what you want a video to be, if you can imagine that. So I want to see a dolphin jumping through a lake, not an ocean, blah blah blah, with lightning coming down, with this music, and it'll build it.
Wow.
And it's coming out any month now.
Yeah, it's funny with that. I think a lot of people get like real nervous about it, or I know a lot of artists when a lot of the visual AI came up were really upset. But it's funny, as a drummer, drum machines and produced drumming has been around for a long time.
That's very true.
And I feel like it was one of the first AI things that happened where
Very
it
true.
really put drummers out of the studio. It's like, we don't need to bring drummers into the studio anymore. We can just program it in, And I think for people who are really concerned about the fact that it's going to like take their job away, it doesn't. I think it really, the machines coming into drumming really helped elevate drummers to just accelerate their own craft faster.
Yeah.
And there's still, and even though the drum machines have done so much, people still want to see live drummers, and people still,
so much so.
and I don't think that for any other medium, I don't think it's going to take it all away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think where artists got worried, and and you probably are worried about this too, is copyright.
Oh, yeah.
So that you could have AI create something, and actually I just did a post on Facebook, and for the first time used AI, and I looked a lot more knowledgeable than what I was. And one of my friends pointed it out. You used AI. And I didn't say I did or didn't. I commented later that, yeah, I'm a pretty good prompt engineer. That's how I got it going. But I don't think there was any one thing that was suspicious about AI. But what it is usually if you post something on social media, you might have a certain style. You might be short. You may grammatically be incorrect. And now there's this perfect post as an example. But I think there's a real problem with the copyright. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that. What was it? At least a 1-year protest or layoff of the Screen Actors Guild. That it's so sad, right? So you can have what used to be background actors. That's over. And you can digitally create those. So there's some legitimate worry there.
Yeah.
But with each breakthrough, it's a tool that can be used, and maybe it just raises the game of creativity, which is great for Hive Creative Studios.
Yeah.
I want to jump over to you, Brian, and just, what was your creative experience growing up and, at this point too?
Yeah. So I've been playing the drums for 27 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Started asking my parents when I was 5. By 9, they finally gave in and let me get a drum set. And then I was very fortunate that they really just supported it and encouraged it. And it was just the one thing that I really felt drawn to and just could do for hours on end and just love it. And still, to this day, even if I'm in a place where I'm not doing many performances, I just love to practice the instrument, play the instrument.
It's good that they, you said the words, they finally gave in, which I think that's really important because that tells me you wanted it more than they wanted it. And this is an important part because here's what can happen with parents. Hey, Uncle Johnny plays the drums, and they put a $1,000 drum set in a 5-year-old's room, and they end up not liking it, not even bothering with it, because it becomes a piece of furniture where you yearn for it, and they might have told you no a few times. And I think that just makes for wanting it more and therefore appreciating it more. It's probably subliminal, everything I just said, but it's no less true.
Yeah, and I have 2 kids, and a lot of people are like, oh, so they're going to play music, what are they going to play? And it's like, that's not for me to decide. It's their choice, and I'm just here to foster whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. With 4 kids, I can tell you the same thing. You would think that, every one of them, hey, let's get them into sports because that seems to be, the way to go today. And that's not the case at all. Each of them are truly 4 different individuals. And it's great to recognize that and not push it. So cool. Photographer, drummer, creative, excellent. I would like to help, personally get you to where you need to go. So I'd like everybody to actually really support the Hive Creative Studios. You can catch them on Instagram, follow them, and let's make this a goal. Let's make this happen. Let's get your community center up and running. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.